At 58, Nicole Kidman finally revealed what Keith Urban did that made divorce inevitable. Nicole Kidman stood by Keith Urban for 19 years, through struggles that nearly ended them early, through battles most marriages do not survive, through every late night when the music mattered more than she did. And at 58 years old, after building a marriage the world thought was unshakable, she finally walked away. The world assumed she had simply outgrown him. The bigger star, the Oscar winner, the one who got tired and left. But here is what almost nobody knows. When Nicole Kidman sat down for her first interview after the divorce, she said something that stopped me cold. Not about him, about herself, about where she went when everything fell apart. One quiet sentence that changes how you see every photograph they ever took together. I will tell you what she said, but first let me show you who she really is. Because to understand what Keith Urban did that made this divorce inevitable, you have to understand the kind of woman who can stand by a man for 2 decades, through all of it, and then one day decide she is done. Let me tell you who this woman actually is underneath the red carpet. Long before she was half of one of country music's golden couples, Nicole Kidman had already survived a different kind of marriage. She had been the young wife of one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, and when that ended, the whole world watched her get blamed for it. She learned something painful in those years. She learned that when a famous marriage falls apart, people decide the woman did something wrong. So when she met Keith Urban in 2005 and married him in 2006, she did something deliberate. She decided this time she would protect the marriage no matter what. She would be the steady one, the loyal one, the wife who never aired a single complaint. And Keith, by his own admission, was not an easy man to be married to in those early days. 4 months after their wedding, he checked into rehab for addiction. 4 months. Most new brides would have been shattered. Nicole drove him there herself. She stood by him. She called it the thing that saved their marriage. That is who we are talking about. Not a tabloid story, a woman who built her entire second act on the promise that loyalty would be enough. And for a long time, it looked like she was right. They had 2 daughters together, Sunday and Faith. They moved between Nashville and Sydney and wherever a film set called her. In public, Keith would stand at a microphone at an awards show and thank her, and she would cry, and the audience would melt. He called her the reason he was still alive. She called him the great love of her life. For years, nobody had any reason to doubt a word of it, including her. Now here is where the timeline starts to tell a different story than the headlines did. For years, the public narrative was simple. Nicole and Keith were the couple who made it work. 2 careers, 2 cities, 2 daughters, and somehow still in love. But there is one detail from these years that almost nobody put together at the time. They were barely in the same place. For years, they had lived with distance built into the fabric of their lives. She was filming, often on another continent, for months at a stretch. He was touring, on the road for the better part of every year. People assumed this was the secret to their success. Give each other room, trust each other completely. And Nicole said exactly that in interviews. She said the distance kept the romance alive. But by the summer of 2025, something had shifted. Keith moved into a separate residence. Not for a tour, not temporarily while she was filming. He moved out. And according to those close to the couple, the pattern that had once felt like breathing room had quietly become the problem itself. The distance that was supposed to protect the marriage had swallowed it whole. And the woman who had built her whole life on being the steady one was more and more steady inside an empty house. I think if you have ever loved someone who was always almost there, always about to come home, always one more obligation away from being present, you understand something about what that does to a person. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is the slow realization that you have been holding a marriage open by yourself and the other person has gotten very comfortable letting you. That is the part the cameras never caught. The smiling at the award shows, the hand on his arm, and then the long flights home, alone, to a house where his side of everything stayed exactly where she left it. So let me take you to the moment it stopped being something she could explain away. There is a detail from this period that I kept coming back to while I was researching this because it tells you everything about the kind of woman Nicole Kidman is. On September 30th, 2025, Nicole Kidman filed for divorce. Not Keith, Nicole. And the world looked at that headline and assumed what the world always assumes, that she must have been done with him, that she was the one who walked away. But here is what the reporting actually said. Sources close to the couple told People and Page 6 that Nicole did not want the separation, that she was trying to save things, that she had been fighting to keep the marriage together right up until the moment she signed those papers. Sit with that for a second. The woman everyone assumed had outgrown him, the bigger star, the one with the Oscar and the global fame. She was the one trying to hold on. And what reframes the entire story is this. Keith had already moved out months before. He was the one who had stepped away. He was the one, according to insiders, who felt trapped. The man she had driven to rehab 19 years earlier. The man she had defended through every rough year. He was the one who let go first. And she was the one who eventually had no choice but to accept it. What I just told you is hard enough, but it is honestly not the part that stayed with me the most. Because the question that everyone asked the moment the news broke was the same question you are probably asking right now. If she was the one fighting for it, what exactly did he do that made even Nicole Kidman finally stop fighting? And to understand that, you have to understand what she had already been quietly absorbing for years. Let me take you back to who this woman was inside the marriage, not the version she performed on stage with him at the awards. Nicole Kidman is, by every account from people who have worked with her, almost relentlessly devoted. On film sets, she is known for total commitment, for kindness to the crew, for showing up early and leaving last. She brought that same total commitment home. She arranged her enormous career around his recovery, around his touring schedule, around raising their daughters with the kind of privacy most celebrity children never get. She gave up things. She turned down work to be available. She kept the family unit intact through years when his career demanded he be gone more than he was present, and she did all of it without once publicly suggesting she was carrying more than her share. There is a word this audience knows the weight of, and it applies to her completely: dignity. She had it in abundance, and she spent it freely on a marriage she believed was worth it. And consider what that devotion actually meant for a woman at the top of her profession. Nicole Kidman could have demanded that he be present. She had the leverage, she had the fame, the money, the standing to set any terms she wanted. She chose not to. She chose to make herself the flexible one, the one who bent her schedule and her ambitions around his, because she had decided long ago that protecting the marriage mattered more than protecting her own convenience. It would have been so easy to use that power, to demand he be present, to make her schedule the priority. She never did. This reminds me of something we have seen before on this channel more than once. The quieter the wife, the more she tends to be carrying. Maria Shriver did the same thing for Arnold Schwarzenegger, the woman with her own name, her own legacy, who made herself the steady ground beneath a louder man. Different world, different details, the same fundamental shape. The one who gives the most is so often the last to be protected. And I think a lot of women watching this know exactly what that costs. To be the one who keeps everything together, to be so good at holding the family steady that no one, including your husband, ever stops to ask whether you are tired. There is a quiet kind of woman who carries a marriage on her back for years, and the tragedy is that she makes it look so easy that everyone forgets she is carrying anything at all. Nicole made it look easy for 19 years. So, now we arrive at the part she actually, finally chose to speak about. I promised you at the beginning that there was one thing she said that I did not see coming. This is it, and I want you to really hear it, because it is not what the headlines led with. When Nicole Kidman sat down for her first interview after the divorce was finalized in January 2026, she was asked how she was feeling, what she was doing, how she was moving forward, and what she said was this: "I was quiet. I had other things going on. I was in my shell. In my shell." That is the phrase that stopped me. Not devastated, not heartbroken, not angry. In her shell. Like a woman who had spent so much of her life being strong for everyone else that when the thing she had built her whole second marriage on finally collapsed, the only safe place left was silence. And here is what makes that even harder to sit with. According to sources who knew them both, Keith had told people he felt trapped. That is the word insiders used, trapped, in a marriage that by his account had stopped feeling like a partnership and started feeling like an obligation. There were claims of frustration, of choices that confused even those closest to him, of a midlife crisis that began in January 2025 with the release of his album High and ended with him moving out of the home they had shared for nearly 20 years. So the thing Keith Urban did, in the end, was leave, and the thing Nicole Kidman did was retreat into her shell. Not because she wanted to, because after 19 years of being the steady one, the loyal one, the woman who had driven him to rehab and stood by him through every hard year, there was nothing left to do but protect what was left of herself. At 58 years old, with everything she had built and survived, Nicole Kidman finally stopped trying to save a marriage that only she was still fighting for. And the bravest thing she said in that quiet Variety interview was not about him at all. It was about what comes next. I am always going to be moving toward what is good. I have thought about that a great deal since I started writing this. Because there is something almost unbearable about a woman who is so loyal, so capable of love, that she will perform devotion long after the other person has stopped earning it. And there is something quietly magnificent about the day she finally decides she is worth more than the performance. If you have ever stayed somewhere too long, out of loyalty, out of love, out of the simple, stubborn hope it might still turn around, you know the hardest part was never the leaving. The hardest part was admitting to yourself the thing you were protecting had been gone for a long time. You were the only one still holding it. Nicole Kidman held it for 19 years, and then with the same quiet dignity she had shown through all of it, she set it down. She did not write a tell-all. She did not go on television to settle scores. She protected her daughters, the way she always had, and she stepped into the rest of her life with her head exactly where it had always been, held high. At 58, Nicole Kidman finally chose herself, and I think that more than any award she has ever won is the bravest thing she has ever done. If this story stayed with you, there is another woman we covered who walked an almost identical road, Deborah Lee Furness, who gave Hugh Jackman 27 years and the same quiet, unwavering loyalty, before she too finally chose her own dignity over the marriage everyone assumed was perfect. Same kind of woman, same kind of strength. I think you would feel the parallels deeply. I will have it waiting for you right here at the end.